happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the brand new Transformers EARTHSPARK Deluxe class Bumblebee. And let's just get stuck straight into it. So starting off firstly, here we have the box art and a really sweet image of the all-new design for Bumblebee, actually looking kind of sick. He is a part of the upcoming Dr. Meridian Mandroid Build-A-Figure, and he will include the right mechanical arm of this guy, and he's shaping up to be a pretty cool figure, not gonna lie. Here along the side, we get some of the Autobots and human characters. The same can be said for the top, and as we come around to the back, we get some product shots of Bumblebee in both robot and vehicle mode, and a whole host of characters which are scheduled to come out in some of the later waves, such as Optimus Prime, Shockwave, Grimlock, and Nightshade. Really excited for these two in particular, and there is Dr. Meridian fully assembled, looking to be a pretty cool Build-A-Figure overall. So we're going to get Bumblebee out here, compare him alongside some of the previous cartoon Bumblebees, and see how he actually stacks up. And here we have the brand new EARTHSPARK Bumblebee, and I'm sure if you've been collecting Transformers for a long time, you're probably all saying to yourselves, not another one. But this is actually quite a cool Bumblebee, and I think certainly out of all of the Wave 1 Deluxes I've reviewed so far, the best out of the wave, as you would expect considering Bumblebee is one of the most popular Transformers characters. So as we get stuck into the paint and the detailing, overall really nicely done. I mean, he looks very accurate to how he does appear in the show, can't fault them too much, and the plastic on this one feels very thick and dense. Definitely nowhere near as cheap feeling as we got with Megatron. I do like that head design. We kind of get those G1 horns sticking off to the sides. The entire torso is painted, by the way, guys. That looks really nicely done, like the kind of slender sculpt work we have. And this version of Bumblebee is kind of renowned for having these massive chunky shoulders. To be honest, I don't think they look that bad at all. We do get kind of live action movie feels with the way the door wings swing off to the side. And the arms look good. I think the thighs look kind of cool. It's a shame that the black doesn't continue for some weird reason. When it reaches a certain point, it does become this grey colour, which looks a little bizarre, but nice thick plastic here for the feet and the shins. And as we come around to the back, surprisingly, not that much hollowness going on, and the backpack is super flush alongside the chest. I mean, as you guys can see, it doesn't protrude. It really does follow a very similar design to the Studio Series Bumblebee, which I thought was nice. A little bit of hollowness here in the back of the arms, but that's just due to the way this guy transforms, and some clear plastic here for the door wings, but surprisingly the paint match is actually pretty spot on to the plastic. So overall, I mean, definitely quite a solid figure. Now as we get stuck into articulation, I'd say this is where the figure is probably flawed the most. We do get a ball joint here at the head, which can look up and down slightly. It can also rotate left to right. The shoulders themselves can rotate forwards and backwards, so you can angle them inwards, outwards, but we also do get a secondary hinge joint here for where I presume Bumblebee's shoulder would be, and this can move independently of the actual shoulder, so we can get this moving forwards and backwards. We also do get a ball joint here and a nice 90-degree bend. No wrist rotation, mainly due to the way this guy transforms, and no waist rotation. Now I get why they decided to cut this. It's because the backpack does actually snap into place, but it would have been super cool to have actually gotten that in there. But we do get some decent joints kicking forwards that far, very stiff ball joints. They can also kick back to about that far, kick out to the side. Nice rotation here at the thigh, as well as a way past 90-degree bend there, only on a single pin joint. So thought that was really sweet. And then finally, as we come here to the feet, in addition to the hinge joint, we also get a ball joint, so that allows for a fantastic range going forwards and backwards, and of course rocking side to side. So in all, definitely a very solid Bumblebee, with the exception of the lack of wrist and waist rotation. I really do like the way this guy overall looks. Now as we get stuck into accessories, solely for Bumblebee, we do get included this arm cannon, which to be honest kind of reminds me of the Autobot spaceship, that being the Ark, especially with this blue section here and the metallic silver at the front. But again, very accurate to how this actually appears in the show. It does simply just slide over the top of the hand, so it does appear as if though it's actually transformed out of the arm, which is quite a cool weapon. And of course we do get included a part of Dr. Meridian, aka the Mandroid, and his component is that right mechanical arm, which has been painted really nicely, but sadly there is a significant lack of articulation. So it's a shame to say that this Build-A-Figure is going to be pretty much a static brick, besides a tiny bit of articulation here at the shoulder, but detail wise actually looking pretty neat. So let's jump into a few comparisons. So starting things off, here we have him compared alongside the previous animated Bumblebee, that being the Deluxe Cyberverse version, and the only area where I think this one slightly wins would be articulation. This version did have a waist joint as well as some proper wrist rotation, whereas that is unfortunately lacking with this guy. But in terms of design, I love the way the EARTHSPARK version looks, especially in the colour of yellow. As you guys can see, it's a lot darker, in my opinion, looks a lot better when in comparison to kind of this processed cheese look that we got here from the Cyberverse version, and I am not a big fan of the shade of blue paint they used on this guy either, so Just to showcase how these two look here from a back perspective, much prefer the paint and the colour on the new EARTHSPARK version. Just for fun, I thought I'd bring out the animated Bumblebee that I grew up with, that being the Transformers Prime First Edition release, and as you guys can see in terms of scale, I mean the old version is a little bigger, but you've got to bear in mind this came out in 2011, we're now in 2022, so I don't think they've shrunken down that much, and articulation wise, surprisingly, it's pretty much identical between the two, with this one actually having a waist rotation. Let me know down below, out of the two designs between these ones, which is your preferred. And here we have him compared alongside the rest of the figures that I've so far reviewed for this wave, that being EARTHSPARK, Megatron, and Terran Switch. Definitely be sure to check out the reviews if you haven't done so already, and out of the three, like I said previously, Bumblebee is the clear winner in my opinion. And for those who may be wondering, here is how EARTHSPARK Bumblebee stacks up alongside the Generations Earthrise Leader Class Optimus Prime. Now, getting stuck into transformation, for a figure which is aimed at a slightly younger demographic, this one's actually quite complex, so I'm going to try my best to show off the steps in as much detail as possible. So to start things off, you're going to want to make sure that the head is smack bang in the center. We can then take the hands and just fold these back here into the hollow cavities. Do the same for this side, so just collapse them in. What you'll then want to do is now take the shoulders, hinge those upwards, bend here at the elbow joint, and then hinge inwards. Now, as you guys can see, there is a tiny little cutout in the inside of this kind of front bumper piece that this part of the elbow is actually going to stick into. So it is just a matter of basically getting that there to clip in first of all, and then we can just straighten that out. Rinse and repeat the same process here for this side, so bring this section up. Once again, you're going to want to make sure that you get this elbow spike into that tiny little tab. So bend that elbow and snap that there into place. We can now swing around here to the back, and this is a slightly scary part of transformation, as you're going to want to uncurl all of this, but there is a little bit of pressure applied to this front piece, so I do wish maybe there was a little more clearance, but as you guys can see, very nice sculpt work here on the back, and we're basically just going to want to fold out all of these panels, so very nicely painted. We can then now take this section, bring it over, and these front parts of the vehicle, which were originally the shoulders, will come over the top and will snap there into place very securely. We can now come around here to the knees. You're going to want to disengage these sections here on both sides. We can then take the feet, swing them around, and this tab is going to peg into that slot, so snap that in there. Come around here to this side and rinse and repeat, snap that one in there also, and then we're going to rotate here at the thigh, just like that, and then bend at this joint. Now these two tabs are going to slide into these two slots, so just snap those in there, bring this around, and at the same time you're going to want to line this peg up with this tab, and then this tab is going to slide into that peg. So just snap that one in there, and then snap this here along the side, just like so. Come around here to this side, swing this section here around, make sure that does click into place, and then align that door tab up, snapping that section in. Take the tail lights, flip those down, and there we have EARTHSPARK Bumblebee fully transformed up into his vehicle mode. Quite a solid transformation, and definitely a very solid vehicle mode. I mean, again, I think this is one of the best alt modes I've personally seen for some of these deluxe EARTHSPARK figures, and very accurate to how it appeared on the show, as you would expect. So as we jump into the details, very live action movie-esque with these black strips which go all the way along the hood and carry on through the top of the vehicle. Love the way that looks. There is a slight difference between the plastic and the paint, but trust me guys, it is coming across way worse on camera than how it actually is in person. Here is the underside of Bumblebee, so he's just hanging out there. Hello Bumblebee. And we do get some nice wheels, and as we come around to the back, some tail light details. Really nice smoky plastic here for the windscreen. Love the way that looks, and some decent detailing here for the front. So definitely quite a solid deluxe B. We can then take the cannon, smack this here onto the top, and have Bumblebee rolling out into battle, and all four wheels roll very smoothly. I mean, this thing can glide along the ground with absolute ease, so that's fantastic. Now, as we jump into a few comparisons, we have EARTHSPARK Bumblebee again compared alongside the Cyberverse Deluxe and the Transformers Prime First Edition release, just so you guys can see how all three of these stack up alongside each other. So definitely quite a chunky deluxe, especially when compared alongside this version, and the shade of yellow is just way better. I love the way this one looks in comparison to this, and here we have him alongside the chunky first edition version. So this was 2011, just so you guys can see how Bumblebee has evolved over time. Here he is compared alongside some of his other wave mates, Megatron and Terran Switch, and none of these are supposed to be in scale, by the way guys, they are just one deluxe assortment. So here we have him alongside Megatron, and here is him next to Terran Switch. And finally, a Generations Earthrise Leader Class Optimus Prime, just so you guys can see roughly how these two stack up next to each other. And wrapping up on this review for the Transformers EARTHSPARK Deluxe Class Bumblebee. In all, it's a rather nicely done figure. I mean, the robot and the car mode look great, very accurate to how they appear on the animation. He is one of the more complex figures out there from this new EARTHSPARK toy line, but definitely a very satisfying transformation, one that I think all ages could potentially attempt. And I do like the accessories, the cannon is nice, the additional Build-A-Figure component I think is looking really sweet, and out of the first wave of these deluxe figures, at least in my own personal experience, this is the best one that I've taken a look at, just in terms of plastic, joints, and just the overall design. Really like this one. But yes, again, it is another animated version of Bumblebee, and I know we've got a whole host of those over the past couple of years. So in terms of recommendation, ultimately I think it's just going to come down to your own personal choice as to whether or not there is enough new here as far as the design goes to worth picking this guy up. It definitely would have been cool to have seen the addition of some wrist and waist rotation, especially considering that was something that we saw in the previous animated Cyberverse Deluxe Bumblebee. But setting that off to the side, it's definitely a pretty nice chunky deluxe. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure to let me know if you guys think I should continue some of these Transformers EARTHSPARK toy reviews, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.